Hello, welcome into the starters. I'm Dave. That is Simon and George. How's it going, guys?
What's going on, Dave? Living the dream.
Perfect. All right, let's go. We know Simon's got the morning show duties tomorrow morning, so let's roll. This podcast brought to you by Club CDL. Check out clubcdl.com for anything tennis, squash, fitness related. They have some great deals for the summer. You're going to want to check them out. Don't forget also to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and subscribe to us on YouTube at These Starters 690. All right, question number one, boys, brought to you by Cunningham's Pub. Cunningham's Pub, check them out at Cunningham's Pub on Instagram. They are having a 20-year anniversary for the entire month of May. All their Sleeman beers are 20% off. And going forward for I believe the next year, they're going to have a special every month on beer. So check them out there. 20% off, 20 years and still going strong. Cunningham's Pub. Best chicken wings in town. All right. Habs season is over. Playoffs in full swing, but I want to start with the Montreal Canadiens. This one's simple, guys. A lot of cool names circulating in the rumor mill in terms of trades. There's a lot of cool free agents out there as well. I want you guys to name one player you'd like to see the Habs target this offseason.
Ooh. Okay. I wasn't expecting that question. One player. Can I go completely off the board, or do I have to stay normal?
The more off the board, the better.
Okay, so this can make or break a franchise. I'm going to say go and trade whatever it may be, one of your bad contracts. You can figure out which one you ever think is one of your bad contracts. Go and get – Dave, are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm writing it down. I have my pen and everything.
You're ready? Okay, this is big. Go and get Jonathan Huberdeau out of Calgary. Go save him.
Wow.
Go save him. Go get him out of Calgary. It's a lot of money. Maybe they can swallow some of it. I don't know. Clearly, it's going to be a Canadiens contract in return that I Kent Hughes doesn't like. Brendan Gallagher finished off the end of the season really nice, but it's still $6.5 million a few more years. Josh Anderson, you can make a case that as bad as a NHL season as we've seen a top 6 forward the Canadiens has had in the last while, he's got still about $5.5 million on that contract. Several years left. Maybe you move one of your bad contracts and you hope to resurrect Jonathan Huberdeau's. You bring him back to those Florida days.
Wow.
So I don't think it's going to happen, Dave. But you asked me a question. I'm going to go big or go home. I'm already home, so I'll go big.
Nice. I love it, George. Can you top that?
Well, we're talking about guys that disappear for the playoffs. There's a guy that disappears during the playoffs. So I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole, but I get where Simon's coming from. He's definitely had some 100-point seasons, a la Mitch Marner. So, I'm going to say, to be quite honest with you, nobody. I would just like maybe some a depth guy up front that could maybe play in the, third, fourth line that could produce some goals. Give me 20 goals. Give me something. I'm stumped for a name that who's available, but I don't think a guy like Jake Gensel fits right now. I don't think even a Steven Stamkos, when the Canadiens are going to be ready to win, will Steven Stamkos be the kind of guy? So I think if the Canadiens do target anybody, is really a third, fourth line kind of guy that's available. Maybe, I don't know if Van Riemsdyk signed a 1-year deal. He might be available. Could be nice guy that could play in the third line, give you maybe some power play time, score. There's a guy. Sean Monahan's a guy that comes to mind too. I wouldn't mind getting him back. So if I had a gun to my head, I'd say Sean Monahan. But otherwise, I'd say if I'm the Montreal Canadiens, I stay pat here, and I don't sign anybody.
All right. Not as exciting as Simon's answer, but I won't hold it against
much
you.
better. I will agree, much better.
I won't hold it against you. It's much more level-headed, I guess.
It's practical, more practical.
There you go. There you go. I like both of your answers. All right. Let's move on to question number 2, brought to you by Christina's Cuisine on Instagram. Check them out. Just the most delicious meal. Simon, you go there this week. What'd you get? Because I'm looking on Instagram and it's just dish after dish after dish that just looks absolutely stunning.
I went with the lamb chops, Dave. Also, it's a silly. I go to a Greek restaurant 99 times out of 100. I'm going to have the lamb chops. So completely unfair to the rest of the menu, but it's a great spot. Opened for lunch as well, just right in the heart of Chamonix, right there. Some home cooking, literally home cooking. Mom does the cooking, not at home, at the actual restaurant. So you can come in and check it out. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, check them out, Christina'sCuisine.ca. They do dine-in, they do takeout, and they also do catering. So check them out and follow them, Christina's Cuisine, on Instagram. All right, guys. We saw Mark Stone score minutes into the NHL playoffs. Seemed like deja vu a little bit in terms of what's going on with Vegas and their cap management, shall we say. So I just want to know, guys, what do you think of their cap management? Is it shady or is it fair game?
So first thing first here, it's funny because Tampa Bay gets kind of the nod for being the experts at this and kind of starting this, but that is completely untrue, by the way. So if you kind of go back, the Blackhawks were masters at this, okay, as they held out Hossa, who had some sort of rash on his on his skin and could not play hockey anymore. So they managed to retire him so they wouldn't be over the cap. They also did it with Patrick Kane's salary, which was $9.5 million. They stashed him for half a season. Were able to go and get a couple of players and load up for the playoffs. So this is something we've seen going back into, I don't remember when the first cup was of the Blackhawks, 2011, if I'm not mistaken, around that, 2012 maybe. You can fact check that, Dave. But this has been going on. It's rampant. 16 teams, I actually looked this up, 16 teams in the NHL this year used LTIR. So you can bet if those teams had the possibility of acquiring Noah Hannafin, they would have done it as well. Every team seems to be exploiting this. Some teams take it to maybe a little bit of an extreme, such as Tampa Bay. But let's look at the facts here. If you have a player that's nursing an injury and you can keep him on, and he's a veteran, you can keep him on LTIR for, the better part of the last 2 months of the season and have him fresh for the playoffs, you're going to do it. All the teams are doing it. So, all is fair in love and war and apparently in LTIR.
Simon?
Look, it's something that they're going to have to address. Right. I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out with the next CBA, if some general managers are going to go after it. And maybe it's not the general managers, maybe it's ownership that goes after it because, general managers probably use it as a tool. So, yeah, it's kind of odd to see a team, $8, $9, $10 million above the salary cap once the playoffs start. It's a little messed up. If you're going to have yourself a hard cap, carry that hard cap, you would think, right? But there's also something to be said that if you lose out on a player for 20, 30, or 40 games, like Kucherov was out for a long time with Tampa Bay and he came back in the playoffs, it kind of sucked because he did it against the Canadiens. But the flip side to that is that team lost a guy that gets you 120 points a season and kept it on the straight and narrow and was still a playoff team. So you got to stick tap to that. Like, you lose your best player, you lose 100 and something points from your lineup, and you can still keep it, on that playoff path and get in. And then you get rewarded with Kucherov when he shows up. It's kind of impressive. You saw the Canadiens. Clearly not, I know it was only for a game and a half, but, they kind of lost Kirby Dach and they couldn't figure out a second line for an entire season. So you lose a player and you play well, maybe you should be rewarded for a player comes back, I guess. But from a big picture perspective, and like George said, like, if you got 16 teams, and probably the teams that didn't want to do it are probably bottom feeders that had no reason to bring a guy back. So from those 16 teams, probably 80% of those teams were probably playoff teams. But I think it's an issue, and I think the next time the CBA is up, they're going to tweak it in some shape, way, or form.
Fair enough. All right, let's keep in with the playoffs for question number 3, brought to you by Fresh MTL. You go to visit them at freshmtl.ca. When you go there, you enter your email and you get to spin a wheel.
Right.
You get 30 free meals. You could save $100. You could save $50. You get 10% off. There's all sorts of prizes. So go. I highly suggest you go there and you spin that wheel. It's an amazing little place. They do all sorts of meal prep, and you could choose plans, and they do customized portions, and their packages are microwave safe, dishwasher safe. Simon gets the smoothies from there.
Had one today, Dave. Had one today.
Which one was it?
The morning booster.
Oh yeah. All right, there you go.
It was it was in the afternoon, but nonetheless, it was the morning booster.
Yeah, for sure. So check them out at FreshMTL on Instagram and also freshmtl.ca. All right, we're about a week into the NHL playoffs. I just want to know, guys, simple question. What team has impressed you most this far?
Let's go. One team that's impressed me. I'm going to say the Florida Panthers. Just being up 2-0 in that series against a quality opponent. Not that, Florida is not a quality opponent, but it's kind of their arch rival. It's a nasty series. You saw everything in that game, man. Saw the nonsense of a NHL playoff game, the fisticuffs, the elite goaltending from both goaltenders. And look, what impresses me about the Florida Panthers is they play the Tampa Bay Lightning a certain way, and they'll play that way, and they'll be efficient that way. And then they'll flip the script against somebody else, and they'll be able to play that style of hockey. They did it against the Bruins. They did it against the Leafs. Then they went against Carolina. Another, different styles from all three of those teams, and they were pretty effective. So, look, it's still early. They're only up 2-0 in their series, but I like what I've seen from them in the first two games.
George?
So I'm going to say Carolina Hurricanes here. Down 3-0 against the team that knows how to just choke the life out of you. That's what they do. That's what Patrick Waugh's boys do. They simply squeeze you out of the game. And they got one from Seth Jarvis, and then they got a second one, and then a third one, and then a fourth one, and an empty netter to add. And all of a sudden, it's a 5-3 win and a 2-0 lead in the series. And the Islanders are asking themselves a whole bunch of questions, changing goalies. Look, the Hurricanes look like a complete team. I think there's no lead that's safe with them. They can play defensively. They can skate you out of the building. They're big. They got a great coach. They got a great system. They're ready to win now. They look good. Carolina Hurricanes.
All right, perfect. Good choices there. All right, let's move on to question number 4. It's brought to you by EA Fitness, EAFitness .inc on Instagram. Again, they're giving away travel voucher to Europe. So all you got to do is, join their spring challenge. Go check out EAFitness.inc on Instagram for more details. They have 3 beautiful packages: Jumpstarter package, an Accelerate package, and a Game Changer package. All various prices, good pricing, and they'll take good care of you. It's just, fitness at its best, personalized training service to you. So check them out, EAFitness.inc, and you can win one heck of a prize. All right, so the NFL draft, guys, it's going tomorrow, right? Round 1 goes tomorrow, yeah. So I just want to know what team is going to make a splash tomorrow.
Look, I think tomorrow is going to be a 4th of July type kind of draft. Prepare yourself for a ton of moves tomorrow. There is a lot of interesting pieces at play. There is a lot of teams with holes in certain places. The rumor mill is buzzing about certain players that are coveted by many teams. Minnesota Vikings are the team I feel need to do something, are gonna do something. They're first of all quarterbackless, if we look at it, and they need to do something. Can they climb into the top 3? I doubt it. Can they climb into the top 5? Most likely. They have the draft capital to do it. There might be a bigger move, though. Justin Jefferson, who's been rumored now for the last couple of weeks, still doesn't have a contract. That could be a move. You can get a couple of first-round picks from him, from somebody. The Vikings look to me, all signs are pointing for some seismic moves from them. I also think the Chargers might do something here and trade down. They've got a pretty deep team. They can use the draft capital they get from trading their pick. I think there's going to be multiple moves. I've heard a lot of teams are interested in Marvin Harrison Jr. So we'll see.
Simon?
I got to think it's probably the Vikings as well, right? You're so talented at wide receiver. You're pretty talented at tight end, and you don't have a quarterback. That's a tough sell, even for Justin Jefferson, as George said, doesn't have a contract. And maybe one of those reasons he doesn't have a contract, he'd like to know who his quarterback is going forward. So I'm not sure if it's all on him not wanting to sign that contract, or maybe the team's still trying to figure out who the quarterback will be. Maybe the Giants, they're picking nice and early. What do they do? Do they take like a Penix Jr. and put him as a backup for a year, which we've seen to, Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. A lot of quarterbacks sat out for the first year behind a vet. The Giants can do something along those lines. They can maybe trade that pick for some draft capital, build a team around whoever their quarterback may be next year. So I think the Giants might be in play to either, get that quarterback, sit him, or if I'm the Giants, I trade that pick for a whole bunch of capital, get whatever I can get, and then start from scratch next year. Get whatever, maybe, double down, get another first round pick, get another second round pick, and then probably not going to be very good next year. And perhaps that's where you can find your quarterback in the future. But I think the Giants, from one of those early teams, I can't see Arizona moving out of their spot. Like, why wouldn't you want Marvin Harrison Jr.? I think the Patriots have to draft a quarterback. Same thing with the Giants. I could see them moving on it, but I think they'll grab their quarterback and start to build around him slowly. But I don't think it's going to be that much. Unless it's the Vikings, I can't see anybody else that's going to make that much noise.
I can see definitely the Patriots making a move here somehow. I just think they're not super comfortable with getting the third best quarterback in the draft. Next year is another deep year at the draft at quarterback. That could be another team that can make a move.
All right, well, stay tuned. NFL Draft Day. All right, question number 5 brought to you by Resto Vivaldi. Best bring your own wine restaurant in all of Montreal, located in the West Island. Check them out at Resto Vivaldi on Instagram, and tell Steve and Dave that these starters sent you. All right, guys. So NBA playoffs obviously underway. KD is down 2-0. LeBron down 2-0. Golden State, Steph Curry. Things, we're kind of maybe witnessing a changing of the guard. So that's my question to you guys. Are we witnessing the end of an era in the NBA?
Yeah, I think you got to think so, right? Not that KD or LeBron were terrible or anything along those lines. LeBron was actually very good in the game number 2, other than missing a wide open look with 20 seconds left. But what are you going to do? I think so. You saw Luka yesterday pull off a beautiful win in game number 2. He's getting up there in the MVP conversation on the regular. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jokic going for another one. And it's not even like the guys that you would thought would be the easy replacements. Like you thought maybe 2 years ago, you would say Giannis and Embiid would run the league with an iron fist. Embiid is down 2-0. Giannis is tired. He hasn't even played in these playoffs. I think it's the time for the Anthony Edwards. I think we're 2-3 years away from a Victor Wembanyama being the guy that is going to be the most polarizing player in this league. So I think this is kind of a special offseason or playoff, call it what you want. We've seen, I think, the last of, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Steph Curry being amongst the best players in the world. But without the proper support, I don't think they're good enough right now to carry teams out of 2-0 deficits or 3-1 deficits, or just carrying their team through a series, unfortunately.
Yeah, look, I like to reference 80s wrestling and 90s wrestling, so I'm going to say every time that The Undertaker would do the tombstone, Simon, okay?
Yes.
The announcer, who many times the King, or it was, what was the other gentleman's? Yes, thank you very much. I would say services for, so I'm going to say services for LeBron, KD, and unfortunately Steph Curry here. Look, the game has changed. It's a completely different game if you think about it, if you roll back, 15, 20 years. It's not even the same basketball game. There's much more three-point shooting. There's much more outside play. You see guys like Shea and Booker and Luka and Tyrese Maxey and Tyrese Halliburton are the next generation of superstars coming down the pipeline. Anthony Edwards. I think it's only normal at some point that these guys have to pass the torch on. I agree with Simon 100%. Victor Wembanyama in 3 to 4 years is going to be the bona fide face of the NBA. He's a guy that'll probably average a quadruple double at some point, because the guy is just a blocking machine. I think he had 7 blocks. He was averaging something like 7 blocks a game sometime during the season. So we've never really actually seen anything like this guy before. But the reality is that LeBron's had a great run of 21 years. Steph Curry's won multiple titles. KD, if not for injuries, was one of the best players in his generation. It's just Father Time still undefeated. And unfortunately, I think it's going to end with probably 3 of them with a first-round exit here, because I don't see how any of those teams come back in these series and win. Sorry, Lakers.
Well, it would be was a heck of an era while it lasted. All right, guys.
Well, listen,
thanks a lot.
It was a 20-year run, man. For all,
yeah, I know.
For all 3,
for all of them,
but
that's a hell of a run, man.
Pretty good. I always say when I watch sports, I want to see the best of the best. I want to be part of the best era, and I think that that we've been pretty lucky to witness some eras in pretty much all sports. We've seen some pretty good eras these past in our generation. So pretty cool. All right, guys, thanks a lot for doing this. Simon, catch Simon on the morning show on TSN 690, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Ciao.
Get some rest.